See, my checklist is working.
Oh, you got that down, yeah?
Yep.
Well done. Is the mics on?
The mics are on, yes. Dope, here we go.
You ready?
Episode 6 already.
Can you believe it?
No, I can't.
It's crazy. Like,
I actually can't.
imagine that. Episode 6. Anyway.
Mad. So,
let's get into it. I'm Veneer.
I'm Ryan.
And this is For the Creators. Yeah, so
it's becoming a bit of a thing now, isn't it?
Yeah.
That was unintentional as well.
But it's for the creators because we're here to talk about everything creative. So this week, every Wednesday, as you guys know, is our spotlight show. The idea behind the show is to shine a spotlight on up-and-coming talent, to give those individuals a voice, and also give them the opportunity to ask us for any advice if they need it, but also to impart on us things that we may not know about the industries as well. So this week, we have the amazing Casey on, but we'll get into that a little bit later down as he joins us on the show. And we're going to take you through, you know, what we've been up to this week, you know, the most creative things we've seen this week, but also to discuss this week's topic, which is how do you stay motivated as a creative? And trust me, it's not easy.
It's definitely not easy. But yeah, we'll get into that
Definitely.
a bit later. So, what have we been up to this week? What have you been up to this week, Veneer?
This week, I have literally been hibernating because I've been trying to bang out websites and just get them out there. And if you're a web designer, you literally know that there's no other way to get around it but sitting down and nerding out full time. And that is what I've been doing. It's been a little bit challenging this week because I've had a few coding issues that I had to get my head around, but I'm just that stubborn and determined that I did it.
How did you get around it?
YouTube is my friend.
There you go.
I'm telling you, like, YouTube and Google. Could you imagine if we didn't have YouTube and Google? We'd be going to the library.
Yeah.
Do you remember encyclopedias?
Yeah, I actually do. It was long.
Do you remember, when you went to school, they had all these Encyclopedia Britannicas and...
Well, funny enough, like when the internet first started, like getting into like the popular, like when we started getting internet, basically, I remember there was like books. You remember the For Dummies series?
Yes.
So you'd have like Netscape for Dummies, or you'd have like
Small Business
AOL.
for Dummies. There was something for... There was everything for dummies.
Yeah.
Those,
So-
they were like yellow. They were almost similar colours to our branding, actually.
yeah, for real.
Yeah.
Yeah. Creators for Dummies.
Book launch coming soon.
So yeah, like you would have to read a book, and that would be long. You'd have to, but you would have done it though.
But it's crazy because, like, in this day and age, that wouldn't actually work. For example, every single thing I learned at uni is expired. Like,
in
it's
terms
so
of the
crazy
knowledge,
because
yeah.
if you think about, say, for example, you go to uni to do social media marketing. It takes at least 3 years for a book to be published. So by the time the book's published, it's already expired. It's already out of date with the way how things are moving. So it's crazy to see how...
I had to be a top influencer on MySpace. My new book.
Nah, it's crazy because even when you see things like Snapchat is getting pushed out.
Yeah.
They're really getting pushed out. Like, they had to do a redesign of the redesign.
Yeah.
So it's
I
things
don't
like
understand
that.
things like that. I honestly don't, because like why make such big design changes? And this is like from a creative standpoint as well. Like, why make such big design changes? And when you get such a big backlash, like, why not just revert? Or
That's what they're
or
doing.
test, or like A/B test. I don't know.
I think
Especially for like Snapchat's a massive public company. Like, it's risky.
crazy. So anyway,
Yeah.
what have you been up to this week, sir?
Good question. doing a podcast, editing, but yeah, jumping back onto my music projects now that I've kind of got into the flow of
Just swinging
editing these podcasts, and it's not taking so much time anymore. Or space on my hard drive, by the way. Jeez, I didn't realize, but yeah, podcasts take up a lot of space on your hard drive. Just note, if you do want to do a podcast, buy some lacy drives or a bigger laptop. So yeah, been working out just the tips and tricks on that. But yeah, just focusing back on my music, man. And it's good because it feels like a bit of a relief. and you know, like music's supposed to be fun, and I'm having fun doing it and writing my songs and stuff. So
brilliant.
I had a meeting with a really cool A&R called Kamali, up and coming A&R, and we sat down for like 3 hours just talking about music and where our culture is at the moment, in the UK specifically, fashion, all kinds, like just how it all kind of feeds into each other, and how we feel that this is a pivotal point right now. It can either stay the same in terms of we can keep doing the kind of Afro beats, swing stuff, and people get bored of it, or right now we can deliver something that's a bit different and, you know, force the longevity of this scene. You know?
I think this scene has, even though people seem to think that it's only just happened now, it's kind of developed over time. It's even developed, I think, from when we were in secondary school to this point now where it's at its peak. So I remember from pirate radio all the way up to now. It's funny, it's probably taken about, not giving away my age, probably taken about 20 years to get here.
Well, that's just the part that we've seen.
Yeah,
it's
imagine before that.
Way longer than that. Like all the doors that have been opened, all of the platforms that have been built, and you know, you have an artist that jumps on that platform that someone else has built, and it just slowly has got to where we are now.
But I even think that American artists are taking notice now, so we're no longer seen as if we're trying to copy the Americans,
which is what it was like for a long time. I mean, a lot of people hearing might not even realize that's how it was. Like it was literally America, and everything was influenced by that. And then you even had rappers here like rapping in American accents at a time, you know. So, and
even feeling like they had to go to America to get a big break.
Big. Definitely. Like one of the best feelings at the moment is anytime I go out my house and it's sunny. And, you know, obviously London in the sun is the best place in the world, by
it's
the way.
a different place.
But the music, when you hear music coming from people's cars, it's UK music now. Whereas, I mean, we always had like UK, like you could have like house and garage and that stuff.
But it always felt underground to an extent. Now I feel like we're mainstream. Comfortably so. Yeah. So,
Definitely. So it's a good feeling, man. We've got to keep it going. So anyone listening, like, we need to push this culture forward. We don't want this to be a passing phase, because we've had too many of these passing phases, and
well, I think I don't think it'll be a passing phase, because I feel like the artists have got confidence in themselves now. So and like I said, they're not comparing, and they've got budgets. Do you know what I mean? But that should take us nicely into the interview this week. So the main interview this week was with Will Light, the producer and
a studio designer. And we had this was actually the very first interview that I recorded, and so with that, it's pretty much a back and forth between Will and I, and it was a really good conversation. It was, you know, we twisted and turned throughout loads of various topics. But I really enjoyed it. I hope you did too. If you haven't listened to that episode, please go back and listen to it. Go for a long drive somewhere and listen to it.
Even if you've got nowhere to go.
Trust me.
Drive the bus route. Do something.
Exactly.
So what was your main takeaway from it?
My main takeaway from this interview was that construction can be creative, and everything can be creative. Like, when you take a step back from it and really look into anything, there's a thought process behind it. And I feel that anything we look at can be creative, and to not judge a book by its cover.
Is that when he was talking about the whole thing about like construction and people not seeing it as like, I don't know, almost they're not seeing it as in the same way that they see architecture, but it's still just as important, because they see like tradesmen out working, but they wouldn't necessarily think that it's creative. Is that what you're referring to?
So that, and also where we were speaking later on in the conversation about how people are kind of discounted in school for acting out and things like that. To not judge a book by its cover, like delve into it and try and find out the origin as to why someone is being the way they are.
Have you ever seen that meme where they have the goldfish in the bowl, and they have the elephant, and they've got other animals all lining up, and they're saying like, if you judge all of these animals by their ability to climb a tree, then they've all failed.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's kind of how the school system treats us, because some people are just creative, they're more practical, they're hands-on, and then there's some of us that are more into the theory and book smart. So I feel like now things are changing, because I don't even think personally that in the next 10 years or so, or even my niece who's 4, I don't think she'll attend university. I think by the time she gets to that age, it's going to be a completely different structure.
Yeah.
But my main takeaway from the interview with Will was, it's so funny how life takes you to different places and you don't really understand why you're there at that point in your life. Because he went, where did he move to? Was it?
To Bournemouth.
And it was just because his family wanted to move there. But then that played such a pivotal role into developing his career, because what's the likelihood of him ending up working with someone as his day job that was equally as interested in music as him and encouraged him in music as well? So for me, and it's the same thing that I've seen with myself, there's so many things that's happened over time to get me here. Just even to be sitting in this seat, it's crazy how the universe just goes around and around and around, and it works and does its own thing just to bring us to where we actually want to be.
Cool. Well, definitely go back and listen to that episode if you haven't, and drop us a comment and let us know what your main takeaway was.
Definitely.
So today we have a guest, like we do every week. So today we're spotlighting Casey, and Casey is a DJ manager and an entrepreneur.
Yay!
So bring on Casey.
Welcome,
Clap,
Casey.
clap, clap, clap. I'm gonna add the sound effects later.
Yeah, make sure you put those in.
Yeah. What were we saying? How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. A little bit tired and exhausted, but yeah, I'm good.
You've been doing some long drives today.
No, I actually got the train today, which makes a change.
Yeah.
But yeah, I drive a lot, a heck of a lot, which is why the podcasts come in handy. So yeah, when you're having a long drive, tune into the podcasts.
Definitely. So tell the people just a bit about what you do.
There's sort of 3 elements to what I do. So first and foremost, I run a creative agency. It's a visual media agency called Element. It specialises in promotional media.
Where can they find you on socials?
For Element, it's at Element Create. That's on Instagram and Facebook predominantly. I also run the DJ Box, which is a online platform that's sort of building a portfolio for DJs to sort of showcase their skills. And I also manage 3 DJs as well.
Which ones?
Cool.
Danny T, who is a Leeds-based DJ and producer. Billy the Kid, who is a Friday night and Saturday night Kiss FM resident. And Deanie G, who is a up-and-coming UK producer.
Wicked.
Nice. Sounds very good, but we'll get into that a little bit more. But one of the things that we do every week is we say, what's the most creative thing that we've seen this week? So what's the most creative thing you've seen this week, guys?
Who first?
Hey!
Me first? Guess first? Veneer first?
And nominate you.
Oh, we nominate me. All right, so the most creative thing that I've seen this week is the Fresh Prince. Will Smith describing how he landed the Fresh Prince.
Did you watch the full video, or did you just see the clip? I watched the full video as well. So dope.
It's sick. Like, obviously, he's a great storyteller anyway, but the way they
edited it as well.
Like, we'll put up the link to the video in the description. But yeah, because they didn't have to do that. Do you know what I mean? Like, he could have just told the story. The story is good on its own.
Yeah.
But where they've added the animations and the caricatures.
Did you hear when he was talking about his girlfriend? And that's another thing as well, about how you're one action or one move totally transform your life. It was really good, guys. You should definitely go and check it out.
I'd definitely like to say social media is a much better place now that Will Smith is involved.
Yeah, for real.
It's like you didn't even know you needed him, but now that he's here,
you couldn't imagine without him.
And he's definitely, him and his team have thought about it. He hasn't just jumped on there. Like, it's very intentional.
Because his wife and his daughter and his wife's mother's also got a show on Facebook Watch as well. Yeah. So they're working it. I haven't seen it yet. I've seen clips from it. But one thing that I like about Will Smith is what he's actually done very cleverly is reinvent himself. Because what's happening now is because of the change and everything, celebrities are no longer seen in the same way because social influencers are taking up that market.
Right.
So he kind of had to like be smart, because for the younger generation, he's almost irrelevant. Like
He's now sort of tapped into that market where he can almost be perceived as a YouTuber and seen in that same bracket with the content that he's putting out, which is obviously a massive, expansion of his already amazing career.
Yeah.
But it's a way that he and his team have kept him relevant for a
Absolutely.
younger audience.
yeah, and Bad Boys is supposed to be coming back out as well. Did you know that?
Really?
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
I don't know.
As a movie? Or?
It's a movie with Martin Lawrence. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
coming back out in 2020.
Wow, that's not even far away.
No. So then everyone's wondering, what's the storyline going to be? Are they going to be married? Well,
Martin's
already
already married.
married. So is Will going to settle
okay.
down?
I can't even
what's
remember
gonna
the plot.
happen?
Yeah.
Yeah, because the last one, was it the one where they had like the Jamaicans sort of vibe in there?
I can't remember.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's based in Miami.
Nation or something. I can't remember, but
Yeah, it's
Yeah, that
coming
was
back.
dope.
So that would be interesting just to see what the storyline is going to be, to
Yeah,
be
yeah.
honest, and if they're actually going to evolve because they're obviously older, or if they're trying to like hold on to their youth.
But yeah, he's definitely, him and his team have reinvented, well, just expressed who Will Smith is on this platform, or on all of those platforms, in the best way. Because you see his stuff on Instagram, which leads back to the YouTube, and they're both like unique pieces of content.
Yeah, and
It's
he's
just
so
sick.
motivational as well. Like the things that he comes out with and the videos, they're fun, but they're also motivational. I think he's strikes a good balance between the two, because he's able to be serious and you listen to him and take him seriously, but then he's also fun and funny. So
Yeah.
he's doing the thing, mate. He's doing
Doing the
it.
damn thing. Yeah, no, he is. So, who's next? Who do we vote next?
I vote you.
Do you know what? I think Krypton Conan opening Krypton Cones. That's
Round of applause for
Yeah.
Captain Conan.
Definitely.
that
Smashed
is a
it.
massive statement, and I think it's the concept behind it. I mean, some people have sort of taken it as a gimmick, but I think as a business model and how they've actually pitched it, and the food that's actually coming out there, and even inviting down the mayor, them actually serving, they've gone about things properly.
They've
think
done
so.
it really well, yeah.
It's not just something that's been done for publicity or a stunt.
But it's taken years. Did you
Yeah.
see the post on our profile where they tweeted, I can't remember if it was Krebs or Conan, but
It's
they tweeted
2014.
that 2014, that one day
Yeah.
they're going to have their own. So
That's
Right.
crazy, because if you have to remember what it was like back in 2013, 2014 for like rap music back then. Like,
wasn't even what it
wasn't
is
where
now,
it is
yeah.
now. Do you know what I mean? So they're visionaries in terms of doing that, and they actually did it.
And I think what a sort of stance to position themselves as role models, and show that there is longevity to a rap career in the world sort of outside of rap. They've taken, whether it's just a financial aspect of what they've done, but it's really sort of motivational that they've used their talents for something that's
definitely.
even incorporating, bringing his mum into it as the manager of it. It's that sort of element of giving back. So it's very community based, but they're smart guys and they know what they're doing.
Absolutely,
man.
definitely. And they've got a song.
Yeah.
about it
With
as well,
Mo Stack.
mad,
Yeah, Mo
mad
Stack.
punchlines as well. Like, you can't beat Krypton Conan for punchlines, I swear.
They're even featuring them on the captions of their Instagram posts and their menus.
I saw that today. Was
Very,
it
very
like
smart.
chicken and something else?
Yeah.
Smashed
They were
it.
playing around
There's
with
a
the
lot of thought
words.
behind it, man. Like, it doesn't, like, you can't just say, I want a restaurant and then do it next week. It takes a lot of work and a lot of thought behind it.
I think it's something that I said last week as well. Like, you can be a chef and then you
Yeah.
think, I want to open a restaurant. But then there's so much that goes into it. Even like back to construction, the construction of the premises and the branding's on point as well. Because I was looking at that obviously from what I do. Yeah, they've probably thought it out. So kudos to them, mate.
Kudos. Yeah, well done.
So for me, the most creative thing that I've seen this week, giving some rep to the females, was obviously Met Gala, where Rihanna just killed it. She was like the Pope of the Met, the Pope of the Met Gala, the Pope of fashion, everything. But the most creative thing that I actually saw from Rihanna this week is, well, in the past week, is when she launched her lingerie line called Savage. And at the launch party, she actually appeared on stage as a hologram. And that was so dope to me. I was like, wow, that's so creative. But her overall branding of Fenty Beauty and Savage has been so on point. Like, she is killing it.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's the most creative thing I've seen. And also what I appreciate about what she's doing is she's so inclusive. So
That's what I was going to say, yeah.
Even with the makeup line, I've seen that all of the makeup brands now, they're stepping up. So suddenly, we've got 40 shades too.
Yeah.
You weren't talking about that before, because if a dark skinned girl went in, she was coming out looking caked up. And then also with her lingerie line, it's also inclusive because it's plus size women, thin women, everyone. There's room for everyone, and I feel like that's where most of the industries are moving to these days. It's everyone's got to be inclusive now. There's no more.
I think the more sort of in demand it's become, it's people have actually started to out these companies for not being inclusive. And, you know, I think celebrities have found a voice, communities have found more of a voice, and people aren't afraid to speak up now. Whether you attribute that to social media or whatever the reason it is, it's had a positive effect.
I think the younger generation are just rebellious because I help manage the social media and marketing for a brand, or fashion brand. And one of the things that we keep getting is, because we recently launched a more ready-to-wear side of the brand, and we're getting loads of photographers and that, but more older generation saying to us, oh, but the models that you chose were a bit too big. They should be 6 to 8. And we're like, no, like why are we continuing this rhetoric when we have the ability to change it?
Yep.
Like a lot, because even like with her past collections, a lot of the feedback that we was getting was a lot of the like average size women were like, do you make clothes for us? Because she started off going into the whole size 6 to 8 thing. So it's like you can't win either way, but I think it's the older generation that's finding it difficult to adjust because we've always done it this way, kind of mentality. But the millennials are just coming through and saying, yeah, so what?
Right,
you were
exactly.
saying?
And what? Right.
Yeah.
No, I think it's really good. I think the inclusion, it even makes business sense. There's more people to serve, right? So
exactly.
Why wouldn't you?
Why be so generic?
Yeah. No, and I think the way she's branded it and the way her and her team have branded it is very resonant with Rihanna's message. So, yeah, it's good. Really, really good.
But it's also, I think, what it makes you feel like you and Rihanna's on the same level kind of thing. Like, if you saw Rihanna, you can talk to her. Because even down to the language that she uses in her captions and things like that, it's not so... I don't know. It
relatable.
Doesn't seem like it's like well thought out. It just seems like it's off the cuff, even though it probably is well thought out. But I like that about it because I feel like you have to bring out your personality a little bit more in branding now. You can't just be like so strict and talking to yourself. Basically, you have to tell a story and.
It's very much how we sort of element, how we position it to clients is there's more content now than ever. And that's only going to continue to grow, and it's only stuff with truth in it seems to really shine through, you know, and you can attribute that to music, branding, anything, you know. There's producers putting out music left, right and centre, and it's all very samey. It's only, you know, people with genuine skill or people who have like a real interest in it that seem to be shining through, and it's the same in brands, in business. You can literally attribute that to anything. There's so many platforms to showcase stuff now, and it's, if you've got a genuine message and you want to be heard, I think that's kind of what people see through now.
I think so. I think people see through the noise.
Yeah.
And they just gravitate to what is authentic. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Brilliant. It's good because all of these topics we're talking about are really like encouraging
for us.
The conversation, and it's also motivational for me as well because when you see these things happen in front of you, it really makes you feel like we're doing the right thing, even with the podcast. And if we continue doing it, even us doing the lives now, you know, if we make a mistake, it's more authentic than trying to be like, we go in the studio, take one.
Right, exactly.
You know?
Mistakes and all. But we have learned from last week's mistake.
I'm telling ya.
Sure?
Yeah, I'm checking. There's definitely levels coming into the podcast recorder. We checked.
I don't know if anyone actually knows what happened last week. We had like 2 major bloopers. Should we tell them?
Yeah, sure.
Ryan,
2?
It was 2 because remember the first time when we started. So
my bad.
The podcast wasn't on the first time, and then the second time, I guess
they were both my bad. Yeah.
No,
Basically,
I'm not saying it was Ryan's fault, but
that's not her area. That's not her responsibility.
I love you, Casey. See, Casey's my friend, and we've just met, guys. But he knows, he sees.
It's all good in the hood. Cool.
Yeah. So
now we're gonna move on to spotlight Casey and everything Casey's doing. So, I mean, we touched upon the 3 elements of what you do.
Yeah.
So, Element Creative, your DJs, and
DJ Box.
DJ Box as well. Yeah, which I've seen, and it's really well done. What's the social for that?
At the DJ Box UK.
At the DJ. And
Do you have a website as well?
Not yet. It's something we've kept just the socials.
Yeah. How many episodes are you on for that?
5, 6 will be going out next week, according to our editing schedule.
Is
Just putting out podcasts
is it a
and stuff.
podcast or?
No, it's a visual thing. It's in collaboration with Mixcloud. It's basically just to encourage their community aspect of what they do. So we release it on YouTube and we put on Instagram as well.
Okay, so what's the YouTube?
At the DJ Box UK.
Okay,
Yeah.
dope.
And where do you record that?
It's filmed at Element.
Okay.
So it's within our studio.
Nice.
So yeah, it's nice that everything I do kind of interlinks, and I've got those resources there. So yeah,
That's amazing. That's amazing. And have any of your DJs gone on DJ Box?
Yeah, Dean's done an episode, which I think is our latest one. So if you get a chance, go check that out.
Check it out.
What's the typical episode like? What do you get into?
Basically
is
it's-
it a mix? Are they on the decks at all, or is it just
Yeah,
conversational?
the idea, the concept behind it is to sort of, there's no real, like, you can book a DJ without having an understanding of what type of music they play or, what their experiences are. There isn't anything like that. So it's kind of built to be a portfolio for DJs to showcase their DJing talents
nice.
and their abilities, but also to give people a bit more understanding of, what it actually takes to be a DJ and give a bit of personality. Because I think there's very much at the minute a stigma attached to the DJ lifestyle that you just turn up to a club and you just press buttons and that's the job done. But there's a lot of challenges you have to overcome. There's a lot more wider concepts of, branding and being able to read a crowd.
Break that down a little bit for us.
Well, I mean, just me personally, for the DJs that I manage, branding is sort of key to everything we do. I think if you look at how DJing was considered as a career in the olden days, if you said you was a DJ, like, people are like, oh, so what do you actually do? Like, what's your proper job?
What's your job? Yeah.
Whereas, there's DJs now that are earning thousands, even in the millions. And it can be a really, sort of lucrative career if done properly.
I know. What was you saying about that DJ? What's his name again? That's earning 100.
Calvin Harris.
Calvin Harris,
he's like
that
one of the
has a
biggest in the world.
residency for.
Yeah, his residencies in Las Vegas earn him well into the millions.
Yep.
Wow.
And that's essentially, it's just a DJ turning up to a
And
DJ
then-
set and playing music. But it's Calvin Harris, and that's why I said a lot of what I do with my artists is tailored towards building an audience and building a fan base, and it's sort of taking that journey beyond just playing music and actually having people want to see and engage with you, and actually respect what you do. I think there's a lot of discredit being taken from DJs because of how easy it is to DJ now. With the advances on sort of technology, it's very much now you plug in USB and it can be done for you.
Yeah, it can.
But I think there's more to it in terms of experiences of reading the crowd, song selection, and it's with my DJs. It's very much about personalization, brand, and just entertainment. People want to be entertained, and as a DJ, that's your responsibility.
But is that whilst they're performing as well? Because there's a DJ, I can't remember his name. But he throws cakes out into the audience.
Steve Aoki.
Steve Aoki,
Yeah.
And I was watching that literally. One day I just started watching him. I just kept watching more and more and more because, and people were just like, throw the cake at me in my face. And I'm just like, people are coming out just for him to throw cakes at
But
them.
but
it works.
Yeah, people look at it as a gimmick, but that is part of the Steve Aoki brand. It is very much about creating a fun and enjoyable experience, and that crazy element. I think there's clips of him where he's brought Dan Bilzerian on stage, and he's on like a dinghy crowd surfing. That is the whole dynamic of Steve Aoki's Playhouse. It's
And
very
his
much a
aim
brand.
is on point.
Yes, it's very, very accurate.
What I say to you,
Very
he
accurate.
will be all the way back there on the stage, and then someone will be like, "Have it!" and the cake goes right in their face, and I'm just, how did you even do that?
Professional cake thrower.
Yeah.
Exactly.
DJ second.
Among his many, many talents. But as I said, it's just understanding the dynamic of actually being a DJ. I mean, first and foremost, you have to be able to DJ. In some cases you don't, but being able to DJ and then everything else that comes with it. And if you're fortunate enough to have a team, that can support you with that, then great, you know. But a lot of DJs now will actually, as a DJ, if you go out by yourself, you've got to be an accountant responsible for your own invoices. You've got to be a marketeer, do your own marketing. You've also got to be a social media manager and do your own social media. You've also got to be your own logistics manager to make sure you get to your sets on time. All of these responsibilities are, you know, it's things that people sort of don't consider. You think you just turn up to a club, get drunk and play music. If only it was that simple.
Right, exactly.
But can we take it one step back though? Because how did you get into this? Were you a DJ before, or like, how did you just end up managing 3 DJs?
So I used to run a nightclub. No, I used to run a nightclub, and through that, that's how I grew a network of DJs. And it was
where was that nightclub?
It was in Romford.
Oh, cool.
So
Which one?
Living in Elite. I used to do I used to do internships in clubs in London, and then I moved to Romford. I was working there, and then it was actually Billy. Prior to him going on Friday night and Saturday night Kiss, he because when I was growing up, I was sort of very good academically, but I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And as anyone says with the nightclub industry, it's just something I sort of fell into. But the whole process of, you know, creating ideas and implementing them and entertaining people, that is what I loved about my job. And sharing these ideas with Billy in our conversations, it was something that he sort of wanted to know more, and then that's when he sort of put it to me, had I ever considered DJ management. And at that point, no, it was, you know, I didn't even know the DJ managers existed. I was like, well, what do you actually want me to do? But it was, you know, I think that's why it's a bit different, because it is something that I do by myself. You know, I may have a team that support me, but it's not something that I would open out to just anyone. I've got a very good relationship with all of my artists, and it's because essentially they're putting their career in my hands, and they're trusting that my ideas are going to work, and who's to say that they actually will? So far,
so
they actually have.
Can you just explore some of the ideas? Because I'm thinking a DJ listening, who probably hasn't thought about it in this way, they're probably still thinking that all I need to do is just be really good at DJing, but that seems to be like
the start of it. That's the tip of the iceberg.
20% even.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's so prime example is one of my DJs, Danny T. We've just sold out his first headline show at church in Leeds. It's a 1,500 capacity venue, and our event sold out in 6 days.
Smashed it.
So that's something that we're very, very proud of at the minute. It's something we're very proud of at the minute, and I think it's kind of sort of unheard of. I know there's a few DJs out there that have sort of gone down that route now, but for us there is a much wider concept of what we're going to achieve and where we're going to take that brand. It's not stuff that I'm really going to go into at the minute, but there is very much a wider project there, and as I said, there's a lot of sort of effort that goes into it. I was in Leeds last week, and you know, we was at the venue sort of planning how the experience is going to be, and it just sort of.
So how do you define your target audience as a DJ? Because I assume it's very wide and diverse, because even sometimes I remember, like, when I was working as a consultant, I remember one night we went out and we were just doing karaoke. But then it was like these corporate guys, and the songs that they were selecting blew my mind. I was like, really? They would, like, it was all rap songs and stuff, and I was thinking about them, you know, being more into like classical music and things like that. That's me stereotyping, obviously. But as a DJ, how do you define your target audience?
It's one of the sort of single biggest challenges we have at the minute. I think because of the accessibility to music, you know, you've got Spotify, Apple Music, all of these platforms, as a listener or someone who actually goes to a club to be entertained, they now wish to dictate what the DJ's playing, you know. And this is happening quite avidly, you know, in a Saturday night up and down the country, people want to hear J Hus, they want to hear Kojo Funds, you know, it's these sort of songs that were sort of seen, it sort of touches on what you said earlier, these sort of things that were seen as sort of more underground, they're now hitting the mainstream, and that's what people want to hear. And you know, if you're not playing it, they'll walk off the dance floor. I've seen it firsthand, and it's you're playing to a generation of people that want to dictate what they hear, and that's not the way it should be. A DJ is the one that, you know,
very interesting.
They should be the person to educate you musically. They should be there to, you know, you wouldn't want to go to see a film if you already knew the ending. And in terms of a DJ taking you on that musical journey, you should have a certain amount of trust in them to do that.
But is that kind of something that you're focusing on, like making it an experience rather than it just being, I feel like if it's probably a little bit more theatrical, where they come in and it's building up to something. Maybe that's where Steve Aoki succeeds, because people have the expectation that something crazy is going to happen, so they hang on for that. So
we tend to do that musically, and it's not a case of we pigeonhole any of my DJs to a particular brand. I mean, Billy plays on Kiss, but he can play Kiss Street, he can play pretty much play any sort of format. So yeah, it's a case of just understanding your audiences and just being the best at what you want to be, and sort of taking it along that route.
Yeah.
So how do you, like, sorry to bombard you.
All right.
But it's just really
keep it going.
Because it's like, you've got 3 different DJs. I assume they have 3 completely different brands.
Yep.
So how do you differentiate between the 3 without making it the same sort of tactic?
I think understanding that there is no blueprint, you know, what works for one DJ won't work for other DJs. And it's, as I said, I've got a very personal relationship with the DJs that I manage, and it's understanding what works for them, what's in line with their brand, and actually having long-term goals. I think a lot of DJs just sort of do it, fall into it, and then just carry on until they don't feel they can do it anymore. But with my artists in particular, I'd say we've definitely got some form of strategy, and sort of we go through a process. There is method to our madness, I assure you.
Brilliant.
Good. So, in the position you're in,
Yep.
who would you say inspires you?
I mean, in a personal aspect, I think I've got a very good sort of friends and family, that sort of circle, and that's a real sort of motivation, especially my little boy. He's obviously a massive motivation for me. From a business perspective, I think there's loads of sort of DJs that I can sort of take the lead from, in terms of what they're doing. There's probably too many to name.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think there's a good sort of, we're at a good place in the industry, for the DJs that are actually wanting to do it for the sake of music.
What about DJ managers? Is there anyone who's doing like the same role as you that you really like? Because I think your role is quite unique.
Yeah.
And it would be interesting to, like, for the audience as well to even...
In terms of DJ management, I wouldn't actually say there is anyone I know who would be notable. But as an artist manager, Scooter, that's definitely someone who I look up to.
Okay.
The guy is a genius, and his,
absolutely.
I think because obviously he comes from a similar background in terms of, you know, events.
That's a very good point.
Yeah.
But also just say for the audience, just explain a little bit about who Scooter is.
Okay, yeah. So Scooter Braun manages Justin Bieber, Ariana Grande, Kanye West up until last week, I guess, but probably on and off. But yeah, makes films, all sorts, and yeah. So it's one of the biggest artist managers in the world, and also communicates himself as a really upstanding guy in such a shady industry.
Yeah, and I think if you get a chance, you know, the guy's career is definitely very inspirational in terms of what he's actually done and where he's sort of come from. And I take a lot of inspiration from, you know, the journey that he's done and that sort of willingness to put in the work and have that faith to get where he's got to. Yeah, definitely.
There's an interview he did with Lewis Howes on the Lewis Howes podcast. So I'll stick that up in the description for everyone to hear.
I'll have to check that out as well.
Yeah,
it's definitely worth a watch.
Yeah, definitely. Cool.
See, that's what happens when you're co-host. 6 episodes.
Yeah, exactly.
You speak for each other, guys.
So what can people look forward to? The show's already sold out, so...
Yeah, well, the show's already sold out. There's obviously plans to take that further, again, which I can't reveal. Billy's show on Kiss is the most listened to radio show in his slot in London.
Wow,
nice.
Smashed it.
Which is, that's a testament to his hard work, which is really, really good for him. Just bigger and better from Billy.
So that's Billy the
Kid.
Yeah.
Billy the Kid.
So his sort of aspiration was...
What is his slot?
He does 6 till 8 on a Friday, and 6 till 8 on a... No, sorry, he does 7 till 9 on a Friday. He's just changed, and he does 6 till 8 on a Saturday.
Cool.
So yeah, Friday Night Kiss, Saturday Night Kiss, Billy the Kid.
And
then, as I said, Danny T's obviously just sold out his show. There's obviously bigger plans for that in the future. And then Dean... Dean's got quite a sort of...
Dean, is that his full?
It's Dean E.G.
Okay.
He's got quite a sort of a good base in terms of his reputation as a remixer and a producer. But there's some obviously original works in the pipeline. And it's, I think we've seen enough of DNEG as a remixer, and now it's time to him really sort of put his authority in as a producer and start coming out with original stuff.
Good.
Yeah.
Sounds
So
good.
that kind of nicely brings us into this week's topic.
Yes, this week's
Hey,
topic. And
almost forgot about it, didn't
topic
you?
is
This week's topic is how do you remain or keep yourself motivated as a creative? And I think
it's hard.
But not even, I don't even think it's just when it gets hard. It's also when you get to that point where you're considered successful as well.
That's a very good point.
How do you maintain that motivation? Because it's so easy to get comfortable in what
take
you're
your foot off
doing.
the gas.
And then you start taking it for granted because you just feel like this is going to last forever. So like,
Yeah.
for example, in your career, like, how do you keep yourself motivated? Because it's not so much about you. And I assume that even though it sounds all nice and cushy,
It's far from.
managing 3 different people, 3 different personalities, the logistics and everything behind it, there must be days when you wake up and think, well, Jesus Christ, leave me alone. Because everyone must have like demands and...
Yeah,
What's happened with this?
DJs
What's
can
happened
be
with that?
very demanding. I don't mean that towards my DJs, but DJs in general can be very demanding people. In terms of staying creative, I think there's sort of 2 tangents of that. There's my own personal motivation, but also keeping my DJs motivated, which is, that's a task within itself, because ultimately they are the creatives, they are the talent. I'm there to collaborate with them on ideas and obviously oversee the journey, but they are the talent, and I can't want it more than them. That's something I'm quite adamant about with all of my DJs. I can't want anything more than they do. If they want it, we both need to work for it. And I think it sort of falls down to your own personal motivations, your career goals. I think the reason I work with the people I do is because they're very driven people. They're very willing to work.
Self-motivated.
Yeah. And it's, even when they do have down days, it's a case of between us, we can be very proud of what we've achieved. And it's, let's just keep going. And I think we're all very tenacious people. And yeah, as I said, it's for them, it's a big deal to sort of put their faith or their career and have faith that my ideas are going to work. So
Faith in the unseen.
yeah, and it's a case of I'd be sort of letting them down if I then just sort of done a U-turn or I didn't have faith in it. I wouldn't put forward any ideas that I didn't 100% believe in.
So
I think they know
how
that.
do you find that? Where do you go to when your motivation's at an all-time low? Or like, do you listen to anyone in particular, anything motivational? Or
I read quite a lot, which is something I've sort of taken to this year. I'm finding readings really sort of good for stimulating creativeness.
What are you reading?
Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
oh yeah,
It's a very good book.
Read that.
Daily Stoic,
Yep.
which is quite
Read it,
good.
yeah. Right, holiday.
Trying to think what else I've read.
Have you read The Alchemist?
No, not yet.
Just check it out.
Yeah,
Dope
I'll
book.
definitely give it a read. But yeah, it's just reading I've found has helped quite a lot. I think I've always found music quite motivational, but I don't tend to immerse myself into it too much because I need to sort of keep an outside perspective of it from what I do. And it's the same with social media with regard to Element, I only really sort of actively use one social media platform for my personal use, but the rest of them I use it purely for work, and I keep that detachment because I do need to see them as a business tool as opposed to something I use for personal benefit, which it has its positives and its negatives, but I feel for me I've got strong enough faith in my network that I don't need to be actively on social media. My WhatsApp's quite hectic.
Yeah, WhatsApp, man. Like that's the one. I could turn off everything else, but
Yeah.
WhatsApp has like become a staple part of communication now, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
I
that's-
think it's one of those things. People don't consider it to be social media, but it is. Because when you think about it, for example, right, the majority of people that ring me, they ring me from WhatsApp. I'm like, you do know you can just ring me. And then sometimes you don't even realize it because you're on there so much, you just automatically just press it now.
Yeah.
So it's like, everyone's rinsing out their data, but then it's like, mate, you don't have to use all your data.
Yeah.
Just phone me on a normal call.
Exactly. But it sounds like you've got a positive feedback loop with your DJs.
Yeah.
So if 2 of you are on a downer, then the other 2 kind of pick it up because you're
Yeah.
all trying to motivate. each
Yeah,
other.
and that's what I said. It's very much, as I said, I'm quite selective about who I work with.
That's a
And that's
major key.
it's not even a case of who I work with. I'm very selective about who I have in my life, in terms of, who I surround myself with, the types of people I work with, even with regard to clients. And it's, there's been clients before I've just found them too difficult to work with, and it's a case of I don't need that stress. I don't need that money. Yeah, and I'd rather just not deal with it at all, because I think happiness is what stimulates creativity.
Definitely.
And I think it's a vicious circle. You can sort of talk about mental health and stuff like that, but it's when you're happy, you really do see, whether you believe in that stuff or not, you really do see that everything else around you can be seen in a positive light.
It's law of attraction. If it's what you give out, you get back. So if you're focusing on negative, that's exactly what you're going to get back, because you get what you ask for.
Yeah.
So how do you stay
Well, I
motivated,
just
sir?
want to repeat the happiness stimulates creativity. Like, that's no trill word has been said. For me, so if you follow me on Instagram, you see that I have a very particular routine that I have to kind of stick by. Otherwise, I get into a bit of a rut. So I'll go on a walk every morning. I'll just take 5 minutes for myself to breathe and to be grateful. Go through all the things that I'm grateful for. I took this routine off of Tony Robbins, by the way. I'll put up a link on what it actually is. So it's a breathing technique that kind of wakes your body up, and then your body gets into a kind of like a state of meditation, because you're just focusing on one thing, and because you're outside and all of
Do you
that,
do the cold shower thing as well?
I'm getting there.
That is it immersion or something?
Yeah, it kind of gets your whole nervous system.
Yeah,
going.
like shocks you into.
Yeah. When it's the summer, I do that. Yeah, but winter in England, cold showers is a recipe for disaster. So I do that, and then I just go through all the things I'm grateful for, starting with myself, and then the people around me, and then work, and then like everything that's in my life, and then I get thankful for what I want to happen in that day, that week, that month, year, etc. And that's like my boot up system. That's what I have to do every day, and that's definitely one thing that keeps me motivated regardless, because after that I'd either go to the gym or get ready, and while I'm doing that, I'm listening to motivational videos on YouTube. So that's my startup routine, and what I found is that really, really, really helps in the times where you would be susceptible to a depression or like getting into a rut, because those messages
you don't facilitate it in the beginning. And I think I've always operated under the fear prevention is better than cure.
Absolutely.
And I think if you try and maintain a constant state of gratitude and positivity, you don't allow for that to happen.
Yeah.
And even if it does happen, because everyone has good days, everyone has bad days, but it's how you push through that sort of motivates you.
I think so, definitely. And going back to your point about happiness stimulates creativity, like that's where it starts. So then creativity flows after that, because it can be very, very disheartening when you're trying to be creative and nothing's happening, and you just got to remember at that time, like, just don't force it. It's supposed to flow, what I mean? Like, so go live some life, do something, that makes you happy, and then life will hit, the inspiration will hit.
And I think sort of going on from what you said about, who you surround yourself with, creativity is contagious. I'm a firm believer in that. So if you surround yourself with creative people, you'll be bouncing ideas off of each other. It's good to have those sort of people around you to pick you up as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think for me, personally, like Ryan said, one of the things I have to do every single day is listening to something motivational. For me, I call it like brain training, because you get so caught up in everything else that's going on. And one of the things that I practice as well is I'm very, 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 very careful about what I allow to go into my mind.
Yeah.
Because I don't watch the news. Because for me, the news just promotes negativity. So I'm very selective about, even if I scroll past something on social media that I know from the caption is negative, I don't even watch it. Because what I find is that those thoughts go in. The subconscious mind is not selective. It doesn't have a filter. Things just go straight in, and there's no way to take it out. And when I see things that are really depressing, it takes me down into this thought process that I don't even want to be a part of. So that's why for probably about 6 or 7 years now, I don't even watch TV. And it's crazy because when I so if you're in an office setting and things like that and people are having conversations, it's like so they're like, oh, have you seen that program? I'm like, what is that? I don't even have a clue. But what I found is it's allowed me to develop this space for myself where I'm almost like in a bubble. In my own bubble, because I'm more selective. I don't need to see everything. I don't need to be in that couch potato mentality to be able to live and to thrive, because they make you feel as if you have to be plugged into the matrix. Me, I plug myself in when I want and I take myself out. So even though I do like social media management and things like that, there are days when I find that I need to put my phone down and not even look on social media, because you don't realize how much of an impact all of this has on you. And even, for example, social media is so pretentious. So when you go on there, you see all of these people, where they're living this life that you know they're not living. I go on social media and I see some of my friends and I'm like, mate, I spoke to you last night. Who is this person in the Lamborghini? It's like the Bow Wow challenge. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I haven't heard of that.
Have you not seen the Bow Wow challenge where he was on like a
commercial
flight, but he posted this pic of him walking onto like he
private
posted
jet.
a pic of a private jet.
Oh yeah, from Google Images. Yeah, I saw that.
And then, but that is the world that we're living in now. And if you get consumed by social media, like, it's two completely different worlds, and that in itself can be depressing. So I'm very, very careful. Like, even for example, there are some people I used to follow, just people that you know, and there's some people that just post a lot of negative stuff, or the people are always talking about they and they don't like me and they. I'm like, but who's they? Who is they?
Yeah,
because
they don't want us to win.
You know what I mean? Like, who is they? Because I really want people to tell me, who is they? Who are you talking to? The people that are on your social profile, I assume you're allowing people to follow you because they like to see you doing good. But you know, like, some people feel like they're in this bubble where it's just negative. And then I remember there was one particular girl who I was following, and she was that they kind of person. I was talking to my friend and I thought, why am I even following her? Like, I've actually got the power to like unfollow.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? And it's things like that I practice every day, because, you know, being an entrepreneur and being out here and doing what we're doing is so difficult. So hard.
I think sort of going beyond that, something I watched listened to quite a lot of Gary Vee, and he talks about entrepreneurship being a very lonely place.
It is.
And sort of extending from what you said, it's a case of if you allow those things to sort of enter your space, it's very demoralizing, and I believe we have a certain amount of energy to exert every single day.
Absolutely.
And where you choose to distribute that energy, it is very much sort of sets a precedence for how your day is going to go.
Definitely. I'm a Gary Vee lover as well. And it's so important. And one of the things I love about him is that some people would think that he's aggressive, but his message is the complete opposite.
But I think that's what you need in this day and age.
Yeah, I need it. When I need to kick up the A double snakes, I go to Gary Vee.
No, you do. And I think just people in general need that, because it's so fluffy out there and there's so much noise. You need someone like Gary Vee or someone similar to cut through that and just tell you what you need to hear.
And it doesn't even need to be Gary Vee. You can literally have a friend that's like that. You can have a member of your family that's like that. You can either have it a certain place where you take your mind to that brings you to that state of mind.
Yeah,
but everyone needs that.
It definitely goes back to who you surround yourself with. Because, for example, when you're an entrepreneur, a lot of the things is like, you're the only one that can see the vision. So, for example, like with me, like when I say to my mom, oh, I'm quitting my job, I'm going to start my own sort of like social media agency. And she's just, are you crazy? So then, and the thing is, it's not because she was coming from a negative space. It was just like, in her mind, it's still very much doctor, lawyer, accountant. That is a real life job for her. Yeah. So sometimes it's like, it's not necessarily that people mean bad for you, but it's ignorance as well.
Yeah.
They don't really understand the arena that you're entering, or they're just stuck in their own way. But it's so important to be around people who are there for you and encourage you. There's so many times when I feel like, oh my God, like, why am I doing this to myself? And that's another thing with motivation as well, is that when do you know, like, how do you know when to stop? Like, how do you know when maybe this career is not for you? Because I feel like that's the other side as well. What do you think about that?
That's a difficult one, because everyone has a dream, and I don't think it's anybody's place
What
to
if
tell.
it's unrealistic?
But is
If you
it?
can't sing.
But is it? Because what if
I'm gonna be the next Beyonce, by the way. Just saying.
Yeah,
I
but
can't even hold a note.
I ain't heard you sing yet.
I
But you
can't.
could be the next Beyonce in your arena.
But I
you know
want
what
to
I'm
be
saying?
the next Beyonce in Beyonce's arena.
But what is it about being the next Beyonce that's appealing to you? Is it you just want to be a global megastar? Because
No,
that's tangible, that's achievable.
Good point.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it depends on what arena you pick, right?
Well, I want to be a singer, a dancer.
What you better go sing and dance.
No, but there are people like that, because I feel like that's another thing as well. Like when people, for example, you would see someone, okay, so say we're doing a podcast now and we're really good at it because we found our niche, we found our audience, but someone coming behind that doesn't understand the graft and the grind and everything that we put into it will think, like, you just get up and start a podcast and that's it. Like, there's no planning. And then that person has like a fool's like impression of what's actually happening, and they go out there and they do it. So it's like, not everything just because someone else is being successful in that arena means that you're going to be like, stay in your lane.
I think you've got a generation of children now who grow up and aspire to be YouTubers.
Yeah.
That is when I was growing up, everyone wanted to be a footballer or they wanted to be an actor. Now it's kids want to grow up and be YouTubers. And because it's literally talking into a camera.
Yeah.
You know, there's
So accessible.
There's
That's
guys that have made.
Cousins said they don't want to go to uni, they want to be YouTubers.
There's guys that have made millions of pounds from playing FIFA and recording it and putting it on the internet. And this is the era that we are sort of moved into. And I think because it is so tangible and so accessible, you need to have people around you that are going to tell you that not everyone is for everyone that wants to be a YouTuber, not all of you, and it's not going to be the same. In 5-10 years, the way YouTube's working or social media in general is working, it's not working. And I think surrounding yourself with people that aren't there to
knock you down
or tarnish your dreams.
Yeah, constructive
We're going to tell you how
feedback.
it is.
Yeah, exactly.
It's even what we seek for this show, because the irony is, all of my friends who've listened to the show, I've asked them to be negative about it. I've asked them to tell me what you don't like, because I don't want it to be... I hate because sometimes people take you telling the truth to be a negative, or that you're in their face. And I think that's one of the things that Ryan and I have found a really good balance with, because we know that we're all aiming towards that greater good. We all want the show to be successful.
Yeah.
So if Ryan says something and we go back and forth, but we don't... There's no ego in it. And it works, because I feel like sometimes people want you to sugarcoat things. Tell me, you're asking me for my opinion, but you kind of already want to dictate what I'm going to say back to you.
Right.
How I've always sort of set my stall out is I've never really known what I wanted to do. And even now, with regard to what I'm doing, I don't know the full journey. I don't know how this ends. But as long as I'm traveling in the right direction, I'm happy to go for that journey, because I think it's worthwhile. And I've learned a heck of a lot along the way. Yes, there's obviously things I would do differently, but everything I've done has been in the right direction. And that's enough motivation for me.
Yeah, that's one of the things I say to people as well. It's not about the destination, it's the journey.
Yeah.
Because even like for myself, and I was having this conversation with my friend the other day, because we're at this point now where we're like, I'm working so hard. Like, where is it? Like, when is it going to come? When's that break going to come? Like, I'm putting in all this effort. But then what I've realized is that we're so focused on the destination that we're not realizing the trinkets that we're picking up along the way. Like the self-discipline, like being able to sit at home on a Saturday, or being here on a Monday, and not like Ryan and I were here on the bank holiday recording, and it's things like that.
While everyone else was in the sun, ice cream.
I had my bank holiday Sunday on the Tuesday.
Right, see?
So,
Yeah, it's things
the
like
graft you
that,
put in.
and it's like, but it takes that discipline. I remember things like when I was younger, I had to have all the latest clothes, and I had to have all of these things that were so insignificant, but I feel like that is why there's so much value in the journey.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
And I love J. Cole. Like he's just he's king. And a lot of what he says, about appreciating the little things in life. And growing up, I was always of the opinion, everyone was like, money's irrelevant, this, that. But I was like, you're saying that from a position where you have money. Everyone wanted to be a millionaire, and everyone had all these dreams to drive Lamborghinis and have Rolexes and this, that, and the other. And I was like, it's very easy for you to say that because you've got that. But even though I don't drive a Lamborghini, sort of going through that journey myself, I think it comes with age that you do realise there's a lot more to life than
Priorities,
materialistic things.
Definitely. I think it does come with age.
And no matter how much someone tells you when you're younger, you will always be ignorant to it. You really will.
You have to go.
You really will.
Right?
Everyone, and it's something you need to experience for yourself.
I think so. And that's why a lot of just going back to music. That's why a lot of ignorant music becomes popular.
Yeah,
because that's what they gravitate towards. Talking about that age, if you could go back to speak to you yourself at 10 years old, knowing what you know
Let's have some
now.
stern words. It's quite funny. I had a conversation with my friend recently about, how I behaved in college, how we both behaved in college and how much we would change. And I said that if I could go back, I probably would change a heck of a lot. I would still go on the same journey that I've gone, but I'd have gone
would you
there.
still be on the same journey though? That's the crazy thing.
That's the thing. I believe everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
I'm quite happy with the journey I've gone on, but I do feel I have a heck of a lot of knowledge now that had I utilised a lot sooner, I really could have taken advantage of it, and that would have benefited me extremely. But
Definitely.
Had I done that at the time, I probably wouldn't have had the same understanding. So it's
22.
Yeah, it's very much catch-22. But no, I think, as I said, everything happens for a reason. I don't want to come in here and say the cliche thing of I wouldn't change anything, because everyone makes mistakes. But I'm quite happy with the journey, and I think anything that I would have changed, I've learned enough now for it to be reflected in how I behave in the future.
Awesome.
Dope.
Yeah.
So that brings us nicely to the
end.
close of the show for the Creators Spotlight. I really enjoyed this conversation.
No, I really learned a lot.
Really, really, really enjoyed this conversation.
I love these conversations because I swear, like each of them, I feel like I walk away a bit smarter.
I think it's quite weird as well. It's like these are conversations that me and you were just having personal, but now being in a platform where we can actually share knowledge. Yeah, it's good.
And that's why this show is so good as well. Not tooting our own horn, but
toot toot,
toot beep beep.
You see the harmony.
I'm telling you, soulmates. Yeah, but it's so important to hear, because we all have something to share. You do not have to be Beyonce or Jay-Z to be able to impart wisdom and knowledge onto people.
Like literally,
you know what I mean?
For anyone that's listening, please do not take anything I've said as gospel. It's just it's my ideas, my personal experiences, my personal preferences, and I think that everyone that comes on this show, it's just about you guys giving them a voice, which you should be applauded for that.
Thank you.
Applaud ourselves, you got to start the crowd off. But
Exactly.
Yes, it's been amazing having you. So pleased that you took a chance on us and you came on our show. And next week we have on the main show, the main interview next week, we're having the amazing
True Tiger. We've got True Tiger coming on. Amazing conversation. I won't like preview it too much.
Who is True Tiger though?
True Tiger is a record label owner, producer, DJ, manages Corrupt FM. People Just Do Nothing, which is on BBC 2 now, I think. I call him a cultural influencer. He does a lot behind the scenes, then we see it out in real life. Yeah, so that's a really good conversation.
Yeah, so tune in, guys. As you know, our shows are out every Monday and Wednesday. The show that we're actually recording now is also live on our Instagram. And we're doing that just to give you a behind-the-scenes view as well. So make sure that you're following at @4_the creators. And also tune in every Wednesday. This show would actually be published this Wednesday on our For the Creators podcast platform, which is everywhere.
Apple Podcasts. Pretty much everywhere.
Yeah, so you can find us on all of the major podcast platforms. As we said before, throughout the show, we welcome your feedback. This show is by us, but it's for you. So we want to make sure that we're making it as fun and as accessible as possible. Even if the feedback's negative, we need to hear it. We're not egotistical at all in our nature. That we want to improve and we want to do better and be better. So just remember, follow us on all socials at
@4_the creators.
Yes. So we'll see you on Monday, and
see you on Monday. Thanks Casey for coming.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
But
bang bang bang. Yay, well done, guys.